You know what lawyers and politicians have in common? Their ability to advocate, their ability to verbally express what it is they're trying to convey and to get people to buy into whatever they're advocating for, whether it be a lawyer speaking on behalf of his client or a politician speaking on behalf of the people, right? The ability to advocate for yourself is a skill that's, I think, the most important skill an adult can have. And this is why I talk about social skills a lot, right? I'm having a social skills group session July 26th. I talk about this a lot because women are good talkers. Women are loquacious. Women are not good communicators. And this is what causes frustrations within women, where they feel like they're not being heard. They can't get their point across because they don't know how to articulate themselves in a way that will cause people to buy into whatever they're trying to express. So the truth is very important. The truth will always prevail. But not only is the truth important, it's how you deliver the truth. It's how you verbally express the truth. It's how your actions express the truth, right? And so we see it all the time in, like, court cases that are public. And we may see a crime being committed, right? We may know certain facts of the crime, but the person gets off with no jail time or no punishment. And it's all because the person's attorney argued that person's truth in a way that convinced the jury that this person should not be punished for this crime. That's really what all of that is, right? I have a gift, right, of speaking. I'm a great orator. And not only because I can talk, right? All women can talk. We can talk a lot. But how do you deliver your messages? Are you being heard? Are you being felt? I have the ability to make people feel. And I have a long-lasting effect on people. I have people that I have no clue exists, but they're angry with me for something I said on Facebook 5 years ago. Right? I just have that gift. And as I say, I have more control over people than they have over themselves. And it's all because I know how to articulate myself. I'm simply speaking on the platforms that I built. People are listening and they're internalizing things that I say, knowing I don't know them, right? I've never seen them in person. I've never conversed with them in person. All I'm doing is conveying truths that causes people to feel. That is a gift. Once you can cause an emotional reaction in someone, you have control over them, right? So it's not that women are weaker than men. It's that women have poor impulse control. They have no control over their emotions, right? And so all you have to do is make a woman feel to the point where she reacts. And I have that gift. And it's not done maliciously. It's just me showing women their behaviors. The behaviors that they think no one sees, right? Women feel exposed. This is why people who do work like mine, there's always someone trying to expose them, trying to expose parts of their past where they think contradicts what's going on, what the person is talking about, right? Which doesn't matter, because no matter what my truth is, what I speak still applies to you, right? The truths that cause an emotional reaction in you, that causes you to resent me, hate yourself, whatever it is, hate your mother, it's still what it is, regardless of what I may have experienced, right? But because women cannot control themselves, they feel inferior and chastised by me. They will always project those feelings onto me, right? And it's because women don't control themselves and they can't advocate for themselves. Women don't know how to take a loss. Women don't know how to be humble, to be accountable. So all of these things that are required in advocacy, you need all of that. You need humility. You need accountability. You need to be able to tell the truth. There's a lot of components to advocacy that women don't possess. And they don't possess it because of their ego and their pride. Women are very prideful, right? And so these are the things that I teach women when I talk about social skills, because social skills is a multitude of things. So what I speak on requires maturity. That's where the humility comes in, right? The ability to listen to a flaw in you and hold it, right? Process through it and say, I want better. But what women do is want to project how they feel onto others. This is why guilt and shame, women attack with guilt and shame, because women live in perpetual guilt and shame. So they think that attack, those things are going to work on other people. But when women try to do that to me, I know that I'm speaking to their inner child, right? I'm speaking to someone who is not fully developed. And it's not being insulting. They're not fully developed in the skill of being social, in the skill of thinking, in emotional intelligence, right? So there's a lot of things that women are developmentally arrested in that causes them to appear immature. You see, so what I teach requires women to grow up. And it's hard to do that when you operate in guilt and shame, right? Because women are so prideful, the other side of that is shame. And so women live there. They put on a facade, and when that facade is seen through, then they go into shame, and then they start attacking. Notice women do the same, they all do the same things. Look at anybody who's built a platform. It's always somebody, well, they weren't like this before, and look how they was before. If you can point out where someone else was before and they look better now, or they are better now, then that shows evidence of what they are doing is working. What you are doing is clearly not working because you're in the same space you were 5 years ago, right? So being emotionally attached to someone's past is weird. And it's also an indication of how you operate within yourself. This is why it's hard to get through to women, because women live in a perpetual state of guilt and shame, depression, which is living in the past, right? Women are always depressed about something, right? So there's a lot of things that's required in order to have social skills. The ability to receive correction is something that plagues women. And that's because of the shame that women live in, right? For not knowing better, right? And if you didn't know better, you didn't know better, right? To feel shame about that is insane. But this is why women can't be told anything. Because when they hear correction, they hear rejection. They hear you're not good enough. They hear you fucked up again, right? When you should hear, how can I be better? Oh, somebody is giving me something to be better. But see, I operate differently, right? I can receive correction however it comes. But remember, some of the correction that women project to me is not correction, is them wanting to humble me because they feel inferior to me. Right? So if you feel inferior to me, you're not going to be able to receive what I'm saying. Because a lot of women are just coming into my space because they want to look and be like me, not because they want to master themselves. A lot of women are just following people because they want to inherit something this person has. And so this is why things end so violently between women, because a lot of times the connections aren't pure. It's because a woman wants something from another woman. Women are parasites and users, just like the men that they hate, right? So it's hard to get through many women because women don't have pure intentions. They don't want to do better. So the correction or whatever I say is always going to feel like an attack. But those that want to do better is going to hear the cheat code that I'm giving them. So what does all this have to do with the ability to communicate, right? Communication is not just being heard. Communication is hearing, right? And women don't listen. We all know this. Women, they don't listen to understand things. Women listen to respond because women are always on defense. Because women are always trying to protect themselves from the shame and guilt that they feel for not being perfect, right? So the ability to receive correction will put you in rooms with people that can change your life, right? I'm not perfect. And most people are not qualified to check me. Let's start there. But those that are, they correct me. And I listen. And I admit what my shortcomings was so that I know not to do that again, not to allow that again. I don't react because I didn't know or I didn't mean it to be that way or that wasn't my intention, right? Your ability to receive correction is humility, right? You can't just advocate for yourself and talk at people and expect people to hear you when you don't want to hear them. And I know this is something that's going to be very hard for women to accept, but hear me out. You are not always right. Understanding that hierarchy is necessary. That's another thing that is hard for women to accept because women think everybody's equal and the same, and that's not true. Some people work harder than others. Some people deserve more than others, right? That's just life. There has to be a leader in every space. Everything can't just be a free-for-all. But this is why women live chaotic. And this is why women-led groups and women-only groups, there's no real structure to it because women are going into it where we're all the same and we're all going to contribute and we're all going to... That works, but not all the time. And in every space. Right? If you're coloring together or cooking together, okay. But if something has to be done, if a business has to be ran, if a course has to be taught, somebody has to be in charge. Humility. But with women, it's hard to command respect and have boundaries with women because women don't want to feel inferior, even though they didn't work to be in the space that they want to be in, which is for another time. Right? So your inability, and that is a part of not knowing how to be in community, right? Because being in community, you understand that you're not the boss of everyone. But women feel powerless and they feel silenced, so they want to be the boss of everyone. They want to be in charge of everything, whilst not being able to advocate for themselves, whilst not being humble, right? And whilst not being able to listen. So again, there's so many things that goes on within women and amongst women that keep women powerless and why women don't have a power structure. Women are not ready for a matriarch. a matriarchal-led society. Women can't even recognize and respect women leaders, right? So women are far, far too gone to even discuss matriarchy, because women can't even advocate for themselves. So how can you have a system where women are advocating for themselves, right? Social skills is the most important thing, because you can talk yourself out of anything. And without the right social skills, you can talk yourself into anything. Women's inability to recognize the leader in the room, women's inability to respect each other, because women don't respect each other. The ability to respect boundaries. Women don't respect boundaries. Women violate each other all the time, right? It's almost like acceptable to violate women, right? All of these things are why men in positions of power would never want women in positions of power, because you don't even know how to be amongst each other. Men know how women are around each other. Men know women don't really like each other. It's always something with women, right? And it's because, as I spoke of in my first video, women are in survival mode. And a part of that survival mode is jealousy and envy and insecurity. Survival mode, you are in your lowest form, the lowest grade of who you are as a human, right? And you have to work your way out of it. This is why it's self-actualization, ascension, self-mastery. You get out of that. Jealousy, envy, insecurity. Those things never really leave you. You just learn how to master them. You learn how to not let them control you, right? Because it's not the emotions itself. It's not the jealousy and the insecurity and envy. It's what you do with them. And because women are in survival mode, they act like animals when they don't get what they want. Because humans are animals at their core. They're primal, right? They're carnal. And so it's hard for women to even get along. Why would anybody put power in your hands? You can't even respect women leaders. Who's going to lead you? Men in a matriarchy? But that's what most women want. Most of you only want to hear men be in charge, right? Because you don't see women as authority figures. You see them as your peers, which all women are not your peers. So this is why I conduct group sessions, because women need to learn how to be around each other for reasons other than being pretty and liking each other and coming together because they hate another woman, right? Women need to be able to come together for mature reasons, or not just business, right? Doing a brunch or whatever it is women do, right? Under the guise of women empowerment. Women need to be able to get together and have adult discussions that has nothing to do with work, liking a man, or these things, right? That women usually get together for, or business, right? Which nothing is wrong with those things, but we got to learn the basics. And the basics is what supports us in surviving in the world, right? Women do well in controlled environments, work in school, but when it comes to their personal lives, when it comes to relationships with men and with women, women struggle, right? Women struggle with friendships with women. Women struggle with their mother relationships. That's why many of you are so volatile towards me. I'm mommy, right? So all of these things, these basic skills that are not so simple, right? I see people say, oh, she teaches simple things, common sense. It's not common sense. That's why women don't have any power. That's why women don't have a power structure. That's why we live under a patriarchy, because you don't have the basics down pat. Right. So July 26th is my social skills group session. You get my social currency manifesto, and we discuss many things, right? But it really depends on the group and what the group brings, and then I go from there. Social skills is going to save your life. A lot of you ended up in the situations you ended up in because you couldn't advocate for yourself, right?